Was good, y'all? beatgenerals.com back with a brand new tutorial. In this video I'll be showing you guys a melodic type trap beat that I made a while back. To me personally, it has a YFN Lucci / PNB rock type vibe. The YFN Lucci sound is a little bit more piano driven, but it's good to sometimes just submit to artists stuff that doesn't sound like their typical beats, but it's still kind of in their lane, which I thought this beat did. When I made this, I actually had no connects to YFN Lucci, but through networking actively again the past few weeks, I've gotten a connect to him and a bunch of other artists that I've never really had access to. So you'll be seeing me cover a lot of artists that you haven't seen me cover in the past and just kind of pushing my sound a little bit further. And this particular beat actually also has a reference hook on it, so I'll be playing that for you guys at the end of the tutorial. And if there's enough interest, maybe we can also have the songwriter come in and just kind of explain his thought process for you guys. But anyways, make sure you download the full kit. I included all the sounds for all my VIP members right now, so you can download that. Without further talking, let's go ahead and jump to the next section and get started on this beat. So the first sound that I started off with is actually a pad sound, and it's called the PD Pulsating 2. This is actually a sound from Exo the Madness from studiosounds.com. So it's just a nice kind of, you'll see it's a nice little pad sound with some texture to it. And I'm gonna basically just play two chords to start off. So let me go ahead and lay these down and I'll show you guys the chords. So basically the first chord is going to be a C, a D sharp, and a G. And then the second chord is a G sharp, C, D sharp. And let's just take a listen to this one more time, and I'll show you guys how we can just add a couple notes, just change it up a little bit, make it a little bit more interesting and not quite as clean sounding, I guess. Okay, and that looped back a little bit early, but basically what we want to do to this is to kind of add a little bit of dramatic effect to it and just make this sound a little bit more emotional. I'll just add kind of notes outside of the chords to them, so instead of having this happy little triad, I'll just add another note in here like this F and kind of get something like this. Okay, and then for this little second section over here, I'm going to do the same thing again. What is my top note, and take it basically one note down. So that's what I started with. Let's go ahead and jump into the next section, continue layering on top of this. So the next sound that I actually added in here is in Silent 1, and this is from our Muddy Cups The Refill Volume 2, a bank from studiosounds.com as well. And this is just a pad in there called Mo Scissor. So it just has a cool kind of movement to it, and it kind of builds as you hold it. So real cool sound, and basically I'm getting all the top end and kind of the shimmer from this sound just because the octave we're playing it on, C6, so it's kind of higher. And then also this sound just has a little bit of a harsher top end, which is cool, and that's what I want from it. But I want to layer something on the bottom end. It's going to have a little bit more body and just kind of help accentuate the sound. I never really think of one sound as one sound, if that makes sense. I kind of think of sounds as groups. So if I have something doing, you know, one thing, I kind of think, okay, this sound that I like, what is it playing? Is it playing the top end? Okay, if it's playing just the top end, I'm gonna need something in the mid or something there to kind of complement it and really fill out that spectrum. So that was kind of the thinking behind this. I basically just played two chords with it. So before I continue to blabber, let me go ahead and just lay these down and show you guys what the notes are. So it's basically just two chords like this. I just left out that middle, that little middle, or actually not the middle note, I should say. This should be actually an octave lower, so let's go ahead and control and our down arrow, just take it down one octave. But basically, as you see, I just left out that little extra note on both of them just to make sure, like when I think of those little extra notes like that, I kind of think of them as little accent pieces. So I don't want every single thing that I layer to layer on top of this to play that single note, just because at the end it's going to sound a little bit crowded and it can kind of lead to a sour type sound. So one or two elements playing that is fine, but I wouldn't do it to every chord that I stack on top of this. But basically, like I said, these are the two chords right here. They kind of give me more of the mids, but if you listen to the sound, it's a nice full sound, so it has a little bit of low end in it as well. So I have it assigned to a free mixer track. What I'm going to do is just put a parametric EQ on here, take a listen to it, and just get rid of that low end. And whenever I'm doing like trap or southern type tracks, I always kind of keep the focus there that the 808 and that low end is really kind of a staple of that sound. You really need that nice presence on the low end. So whether I'm layering a lead or a pad or whatever it is, I'm always looking to make sure that I keep in mind I'm going to have to cut and trim a lot of that low end off to kind of keep a nice spectrum open for my 808, my bass line. So let's go ahead and take a listen to it and trim what we don't need. All right, so that's what that sounds like. Let's jump to the next section. I'll show you guys the second set of chords that I added to this. So basically at this point, I had pattern 1, which was kind of like a cool sounding intro piece to me. It had a nice melodic type tone, but the next thing I wanted to do was kind of start adding more body and more movement to the track to kind of start building it up. So I have pattern 2, and on pattern 2 I included this MIDI file for you guys just because I played this all by hand. So as you can see, the velocities are kind of all over the place, and I wasn't really sure how I'd be able to recreate these exactly, so I just included the MIDI file for you guys. But let's go ahead and just break down what I did real quick. Basically, the way I look at this is I'm always kind of looking at it as almost like a drum pattern. As you can see, like it just kind of plays a steady little rhythm in here, and then I just layer the chords on top. So this is just the first chord, second chord, and when it plays by itself, this is what it sounds like. So this basically starts giving me a rhythm and a groove for the track, and really starts building out the rhythm and the flow of the track. So that sounds good. And then the other thing I did was I just did a quick legato on them, just to make it a little bit more fluid and make sure they're all connect so they're not quite as choppy. And this particular sound is the PL Old School from Muddy Cups to Refill Volume 2 as well. And then when we kind of add these two together right now, before we do any EQ to the second pattern, which we need to do, this is what it sounds like. Okay, so you kind of see how that builds a little bit of a groove. Now for this particular sound, I did trim this a little bit just because I wanted it to not have as much top end. So let's go ahead and just select a free mixer channel. And what I want to do is just throw a parametric EQ, get rid of the low end per usual. And then I want to also trim a little bit of the high end. So bring it down slightly, maybe the 3000 range. Let's go ahead and try that. Okay, so that's cool. Now, to me, like I said, when I'm thinking of layers, I think of this as one layer. These kind of sounds, their whole purpose is just to really kind of build out that mid and slightly top end range with that first pad. But I'm still going to need a lead on top of that later. But anyways, let's go ahead and jump to the next section, continue layering on top of this. So the next sound I'm going to be adding in here is the PL Soft Plucks, and this is from Muddy Cups to Refill Volume 2 as well. And basically with this, I'm starting to kind of work a little bit on the higher end of the spectrum, so it's going to be almost kind of like a foundation for our lead. So let me show you guys these 4 notes that I'm going to just put in here real quick. So it's basically just this, very simple. And what we want to do is we want to go ahead and copy this. So you can just hold Control to get this. So you can just go ahead and select them and then hold Shift, and you can just move them slightly over and then just drag them down to G5. So now we have it stacked on 2 octaves, just give it a little bit more of a full sound. Okay, and this actually doesn't kick in until over here. And for this particular sound, what I'm going to do is I have it on effects channel 4. I'm going to put a reverb on here. So let me go ahead and play this. Also going to go ahead and throw a delay on here. Ping pong 3 steps. Okay, then I'm going to go ahead and throw a parametric EQ on here and just cut the low end that I don't need. And the last thing I have on here is the pancake VST, so just so it'll move from one speaker to the next, just give it an extra kind of layer and just something interesting. So now when we put that together, this is kind of what we have. And if you kind of look at the notes, basically we have a G, F, D sharp, D. So for the very first chord, you're basically using a couple notes directly from it. So you have your G and your D sharp, because it's basically just a C minor chord. But then you also have a couple notes that are slightly outside of the chord, but they still kind of fit there in the scale. So it just kind of adds a nice little melodic twist to it. So to me, this already has a vibe and a groove. So now we just want to continue layering on top of this and just kind of figuring out what goes where as far as the layout and the sequence of the tracks. So let's jump in the next section.